the album is gold by the time this comes out in your magazine. It should be gold by in about 2 or 3 weeks from when we're speaking right now. It's done about 475,000 copies in America. It went gold in Canada about 3 weeks ago, and it's obviously doing quite well everywhere. It's I think it's especially in America, which is always, which was the one market that was going to be very interesting. I mean, in Europe, obviously, we've been doing quite well for a while, and it's nice to see that it still continues, in that way. But in America, it's great to see that. I mean, we're really sort of getting established now in America, and doing the Aussie tour for 5 months obviously helped a lot, both in album sales and in sort of getting our name and what we do out to as many new people as possible. So it's been a good 6 months for us, the last 6 months in America, and what can I say?
Obviously without a house in San Francisco.
Yep, definitely without a house. When we left for the Aussie tour in March, me and James gave up the house because we knew that we wouldn't be back there for at least 9 or 10 months. And what's the point of having a house standing around when you're never there? Plus, because of the way me and James live, it was rapidly deteriorating. So,
smashing things around?
Well, just have friends over for an occasional drink and things. Sometimes, occasional. Sometimes things have a tendency to get a bit out of hand. So all in all, we decided that it was probably a good idea now to sort of give up the house. Also because, sort of looking ahead, we could obviously sense that coming off this tour, which will end, it looks like at the moment now in December, coming off this tour, probably have quite a bit more money than when we left on it, so could get, a place that's a bit nicer to stay or whatever. So at the moment, as we're speaking, I'm homeless, and so is James. And
where is he now?
He
broke his hand, so now you would be off.
Well, we have, we have these 3 weeks off. Yeah. He's quote unquote at home in San Francisco, where he's rented himself into a hotel room with sort of kitchen facilities, like a combination hotel room, apartment, whatever.
Yeah.
So he's at home in San Francisco for the rest of August till we start rehearsals on September 3rd up in Birmingham. And what happened was the Aussie tour ended in America on August 3rd. And it started in March, so it went from March to August, and then the rest of August we had headline dates booked with Keel supporting his Sabotage opening it. We had that booked on the East Coast of America for the rest of August, and it was those dates that had to be canceled. We thought that when the whole thing with James's hand happened about 3 weeks before the Aussie tour ended, we thought that we could definitely pull it off in a situation where on the Aussie dates we play 55 minutes a night, where James would just be singing and not playing guitar, and then our guitar roadie John Marshall, who's been with us for about 3 years and is like, has been with us the longest, he knows obviously most of the stuff, and so what we did was James would just be singing and John would be sort of behind the scenes in that sense. But it wasn't like we were trying to hide the fact that he was there. We would bring him out on stage and introduce him to the crowd and whatever, but he was obviously, maybe a bit nervous and he doesn't move around.
Well, that tends to happen even when Schenker had Schenker couldn't play all the parts, so he had his role in the back of the stacks playing guitar.
But I mean, at least
he didn't want to be on stage because he was very shy. He didn't want to have
But I mean, we openly sort of brought him out and said, here, this is John who's playing James's rhythm guitar bits sort of over there in the corner. And that went fine for the rest of the Aussie tour, which then ended on August 3rd. But we thought that we could pull it off in the Aussie situation, doing 7, 8 numbers. And and where Ozzy was still sort of the main attraction, but we didn't think that we could pull it off in a situation where we were the main attraction and playing hour and a half, hour and 40 minutes, playing, you know, a lot more songs that we had John wasn't familiar with because we hadn't played them for 5 months in the Ozzy set and whatever. So we decided to, the dates were not canceled, they were merely postponed till we had 3 weeks off between Europe and Japan in October, November, and now the dates have been put in between Europe and when we start in Japan, the 3 weeks on the East Coast, which it ties in where we've done the whole country with Ozzy supporting, and then Ozzy went to Japan for 3 weeks in May, and in those 3 weeks in May, we did like, you know, like the most important cities in the Midwest in a headline situation, and then joined up with Ozzy when he came back from Japan. Then in this break in August, we were going to do 3 weeks of headline stuff on the East Coast, and then Europe, and then as it looks right now, after we're done with Europe, we're now going to go. We do 7 weeks in Europe, headlining, then come back and do the 3 weeks on the East Coast of America headlining that we lost in August. Then we do Japan for a week and a half. Then after Japan, it's Australia for about, you know, 4 or 5 gigs or whatever. Then it looks like New Zealand will be put in after Australia. And then the good news is that there's a chance, and I'm not going to say anything more than it's not confirmed, but it looks like there's a chance that we're going to do Brazil after Australia, which would be great because that will carry us in all the way into December and sort of get us to new places. Yeah, new places, which is great. I mean, there's nothing more fun than going to new cities and sort of playing, you know, for new.
All those places are the kind of places where they never see any band.
Yeah. So
where you have to, you might be like playing on 100,000 people because it's a gig. It's a gig.
Well, yeah. But I mean, no matter how many people you play for, it'd just be very interesting to go there. And like I said, Japan's confirmed and Australia's confirmed, and it looks like New Zealand's confirmed. And then we just got an offer last week. That's why I can't say as we're speaking right now that it's on off, but it looks like there's a chance that after New Zealand we'll go to Brazil. And now we're talking about, we start Japan on November 15th. So the period after we end in Europe, which is October 26th until November 15th, we'll be doing dates in America. And then we start in Japan November 15th and do Japan. Then Australia will be like the last few days in November. And then New Zealand and Brazil in December. And then we should then go back. And since we've done the middle of the country and the east part, then come back and do headline dates on the West Coast. And then we've done pretty much, I mean, then we've been on tour for 10 months on this record, which is a lot.
Then it's time to get a house.
Then it's time to look into a living situation. So it's time for another bite here of these things.
It's fortunate being off for 3 weeks and not having a house, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I get obviously on very well with Peter, our manager here in London.
So you came over.
And he's got a great house. And I love coming over here and staying because, first of all, it's close to Denmark, so I can go home to Denmark if I want. And my mother is in Spain, so what I'm planning on doing next week is going down and visit my mom in Spain because I haven't seen her for 6 months. And so it's like, it's just nice to be in Europe, especially because when we're done in Europe, we won't come back to Europe for I think quite a while because after we're done, and next time we're definitely going to record the record in America. So I don't think we'll be in Europe for quite some time. So it's nice for me to, I sort of have a base in London at Peter's lovely house where I can sit with my feet up on the table and watch videos, you know, and just do things that are great to do at home, which is like one of the things I really miss about being on the road. I mean, it's great and everything, but I mean, the one thing of just sitting in a hotel room all the time just gets really fucked after a while. And just being able to be in a house like Peter's and just watch videos and make tea in the morning and shit like that. It's just not being confined to just one room is lovely.
No, James must be crazy out there.
Huh?
James must be going crazy.
Yeah, I couldn't do that. That's why, you know, We had a couple of days in San Francisco. When we played in San Francisco, we had like a couple of days off there. We stayed in a hotel in San Francisco, and it's really, really strange staying in a hotel in your sort of quote-unquote hometown, you know. It was the same feeling I have in Copenhagen when we recorded the last two albums, especially when we recorded Master Puppets, because we were there for 6 months. We stayed in a hotel. And it's very strange, yeah, it's very strange for me to stay in a hotel in either Copenhagen or San Francisco, because those are like my two sort of hometowns, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's quite unusual, I suppose. So you survived 5 months with Ozzy.
Yes, we're still
His
breathing.
Roots and Sharon's.
Yeah, I mean, basically how the tour went was that how you usually tour the States is that, see, the United States is a country where you can tour, you go back and forth and up, you just go all over the place continuously. You don't start one, I mean, you just go up and down and whatever, back and forth. And what you usually do is, you always start off in the big cities. Because that's where the record, you know, you release a new record and it does well in the big cities first, and it spreads out to the smaller cities. And so obviously we started in the big cities, you know, with Ozzy in March, did, you know, Detroit, Chicago, Cleveland, St. Louis, all the big cities first. And in all of those cities, there's a lot of record company people, because they're always obviously based in the big cities. So in the beginning, the first couple of months on the tour, you had every night, big cities, a lot of press people, a lot of record company people you'd have to stand and smile to and talk to, and it'd be very sort of, Ozzy would be doing their thing and we would be doing our thing. It was the beginning of the tour. Everyone was a bit sort of, everything was new and whatever, and there was all these people to talk to, and there was just the excitement of the beginning of the tour. And all these record company people and all this press to deal with and whatever. But then as the tour sort of grew older and sort of we got into a lot of the smaller markets, it's not all these record company people and important press and all this. So as soon as we'd been out on the road for about 2 months or something, it sort of started dying out with that. And we became a lot closer connected. It was just sort of us and Ozzy. I mean, us and our crew and Ozzy and his band and their crew. It was just sort of more, it became like a full unit because we only really had each other. You know, sort of, when that time came, where in the beginning of the big cities, there was all these other people to attend to. So after we sort of got out of, you know, it was like, it just became sort of the two camps or whatever on the road together. We had some great times. The last, you know,
They just started going crazy.
Yeah, the last 8-10 weeks when you sort of settle into sort of more daily routine of things, and you just sort of, you know, you just have each other, which is great. And the last like 8-10 weeks of the tour were great because we were always together, all of us, and you know, there's so many crew people on tours like this. You know, there's about 25 people just doing lights and sound and everything. And it's like, it takes a while to remember everyone's name, and they think, you know, support band, but then just when everything is sort of broken down, you just have a great time together. That sort of, the last 8-10 weeks, it was just like, if there was maybe 40 people on the tour, it was just a whole big fucking family. It didn't matter if you were a truck driver or a band member, or if you were Ozzy, or if you were a catering person, or the wardrobe people. I mean, it was just all for one. Just had a good time.
Any crazy stories? Stories that can be repeated.
Well, not so much that, because that's what a lot of other bands always say, but I would more say out of respect for Ozzy and for what he's doing and how he's sort of presenting himself in the press and how he's trying to clean himself up and so forth. I would rather, if some of these stories are going to come out, I would rather that he would tell them than us, because just out of respect that it was his tour and we were the guests. I mean, obviously there was a lot of funny moments and a lot of stupid stories, but you know, he's trying to do a certain sort of thing with the press and trying to sort of clean himself up and whatever. I don't really want to get in the way of that. So I've already said.
You'll tell me another time where we're not doing an interview, right?
And I mean, obviously there was a lot of funny things that just happened with us in the band. I'm sure you've heard about this really crazy thing that happened with my foot,
Yeah.
where, you know, you maybe read about it in Kerrang or whatever, where I really fucked my foot up really bad. It was an accident, but it was one of those accidents that could have been easily avoided. And it was simply due to like massive amounts of alcohol and just me being really stupid, jumping out of the window and landing in the swimming pool, you know. Have you heard the story?
Oh yeah.
It's when I had to.
Is it the same with James' accident? Because he was
No.
skateboard.
James was skateboarding. My accident was.
No, I know, but was he sort of being stupid?
No.
as well,
James,
just,
that was
you
in
know?
the afternoon. That was before. We usually don't sort of drink till after the gig. So, you know, my accident was at about 3 in the morning at the hotel, you know, where I had. The hotel room was out over the swimming pool, and it looked like about, you know, just a meter or two down. So I was, you know, we were gonna go swimming. The only problem was because I was so drunk. I mean, I sort of miscalculated the distance, and the next day when I saw the distance down, it was a good 4 or 5 meters. Now the main problem was that in the swimming pool,
Was enough water.
yeah, the water level was only about, where I landed was only about 3 or 4 feet. So I went straight to the bottom and like really hurt my ankle.
Yeah.
And was, you know, couldn't walk for about a week, and then was really fucked up for the next couple of weeks. But it's all right now. Like I told you, I just started getting back into running again yesterday, and it really feels well. So. And then there was James' stupid accident, which was, you know, him skateboarding in the afternoon. Because, you know, when we get to the gigs, there's really not a lot to do. So James and
Yeah, especially when the others are
sound check.
and,
So Kirk and James always go off skateboarding, and me and Cliff, you know, hang out at the bus or eat or whatever. And James sort of just went down this hill, and just sort of the hill was a lot steeper than he really thought it was going to be. So he really he had to jump for it instead of, if he would have continued going, he would have sort of ran into this fence towards the bottom of the hill. And so he jumped and landed on his wrist and really fucked himself up. That was the only gig that we had to cancel, was that night. Because this happened about 6 or 7. We were supposed to go on at 8. So all the kids were already in and all our equipment was set up on stage. And me and Cliff then had to go out on stage. Me and Cliff Burton had to go out on stage and announce that we weren't playing that night because James had an accident about an hour before. So all the kids started booing and everything, and it was really quite funny. So we had to drink a lot that night just because we were all really sort of a bit, you know, nervous or a bit edgy about the whole thing, you know. And that was the only night on the whole tour that I got sick. I got sick all over the tour bus because I drank so much, because I was feeling so bad about James and his accident and everything, that I ended up throwing up all over the tour bus.
Is that the picture you saw with Ozzy? The ones you're talking about the other day? You said you had.
Yeah, this is when we were up on stage with Ozzy here. This is James with his broken arm. He's got the bones drawn in there. That's our lighting man. That's me with a guitar and the diapers on. That's me and Ozzy and our light man up there doing Paranoid. James is up there, no guitar. Cliff, our drum roadie.
What gig was that?
That's the last gig on the US tour.
Alright.
We came and joined Ozzy for
So everybody goes crazy.
Yeah, James and Ozzy. Great picture that is.
Who's that?
That's James.
Whose picture?
Oh, those are my pictures.
Oh, you did?
Well, I didn't take them, but they're my camera. I had one of our roadies take the pictures. Cliff Burton and Phil from Ozzy. Ozzy and James, Kirk and Ozzy. Me and Ozzy. Me playing guitar.
God, you look like Jackie Lee here.
Huh?
You look like Jackie Lee.
Kirk and Ozzy.
Not here. Great stuff.
It's great pictures.
Yeah, it's good.
Ozzy, James, and Kirk. Me, James, Ozzy, and Kirk. It's a great lineup. pictures here at the end. It's like everyone: Cliff, Phil, Austin, James, me, Randy, Kirk. The whole. Yeah. Austin and James hugging each other. Lovely. You can see some more of them. So. Anyway, James's accident was. What were we talking about?
We were just saying that he went down just to avoid the fence.
Yeah.
Had to cancel.
Yeah, we got really drunk that night. I had to throw up. I proceeded then to throw up all over the tour bus, and that was about it. So, anyway. Did the limos manage to survive? Driving around a few limos, some places. Is it something you don't? I believe it's something you don't really like. Tour buses are better.
Yeah, you have to take those. Is it something that you prefer to work with? What do you measure for
yeah, obviously a limo is very comfortable, but
I know.
But I mean, we've been in limos on this tour, but it's not something that we try and get. I mean, there's been situations where we had to go some places where they've gotten some limos for us, but oh yeah. I mean, we prefer not to be seen getting out of limos. I mean, they're all right for driving in, but it's not something we really want all that bad. I still think that tour buses are more comfortable because you can walk around, and limos are actually quite cramped if you're 4 or 5 people there. Tour buses are great. That's the best thing.
Same conference, got TV. Yeah, except when you go.
Yeah, but you've got a lot more room. You can walk around.
Yeah, but you don't. It's something that doesn't get very much down.
We take limos once in a while, like I said, when we have to, but it's not something we encourage.
So you've got everything set up for the tour. You've got the stage set.
Yeah, I mean the only question is. The only question at the moment, as we're speaking right now, I can update you on that more next week or whatever, is if James is going to be able to play yet or not. At the moment, it looks like he'll get his cast off around September 1st. But that's after having it in his left arm in a cast for 5 weeks. Then he has to get his fingers back in shape. So at the moment, we're preparing ourselves for both situations. Either that James will just be singing for the first week or 2 on this tour, and John again will be playing guitar behind the stacks, or James will be doing, the normal thing. So that's the only thing that we're not too certain of.
So you should be okay by the time you get to Italy.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. This all depends on how long it takes for James to get well.
Yeah, because he has to get the movement back together.
Yeah, because muscles working again. Yeah.
How long has he been in plaster for?
It happened about July 20th.
So it's going to be
it's about 4 weeks now.
Yeah. So it's going to be 6 weeks.
6 weeks all in all. Yeah. That's how long it usually takes. I mean, this happened about 7 weeks ago now. 7, 8 weeks ago now. So I mean, that's how long it takes.
Yeah, I know. It's quite a long way. Well, usually when you well, some big pictures of you in England with him singing, and pictures in Italy of you with him playing guitar.
It's not so much that it's too much, but it's still something to have. Like I said, we've done 3 weeks of headlining stuff in May, and we really sort of.
You feel restricted?
Huh?
You feel restricted?
No.
I mean, going like shit, I like to play like hour and a half.
Well, I I mean,
the one.
to be totally honest with you, I mean,
The one gig is really great. Everything works perfect. The kids are all behind you. Finish 55 minutes.
well, a lot of it, yeah. See, the thing is, a lot of it has to do with how you pace yourself. So when you step out on stage and you know you're only going to play 55 minutes, your level of energy is at, or your energy level is at a certain point where you feel that you can keep that up for 55 minutes. So say for 55-minute set, you give yourself X amount, you put X amount of energy out evenly over 55 minutes, right? So if you play an hour and 40 minutes, obviously that X factor is going to be lower, because if you play an hour and 40 minutes, you still have to keep going after the 55 minutes. So if you put out a lot of energy in the beginning, you won't last in the end. So a lot of that has to do with pacing yourself. And usually, by the time, if we step on stage and know that we're going to play 55 minutes opening for us, we'll make sure that by the time the 55 minutes is up, that we're about ready to be carried off stage. In the same sense that if we're going to play an hour and 40 minutes, we pace ourselves so we know that by the time an hour and 40 minutes is up, we're ready to be carried off stage. But it's not like you say at 55 minutes, oh shit, oh I would love to play another 45 minutes, because you've put so much out over those 55 minutes that you know that that's going to be the last song. And to be totally honest with you, I quite actually like supporting, because I mean the level of energy is like quite a bit higher, and I mean just, you know, for some stupid reason you get off stage earlier, you can drink. I mean, it's good fun hanging out drinking when the other band's still on stage, because a lot of stupid stuff goes on. When you're headlining, when you're off, then that's the end of the night. So it just, when you're done, it gets quite boring from then on. But it's good, like, the next 2 hours.
There's a lot of life on the tour bus afterwards.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that, I mean, and don't get me wrong, but what I'm saying is that it's a good sort of laugh to hang out while the other band is still playing, you know. And obviously there are things that are, like, obviously it's greater playing a headlining set and you feel that you're headlining and you're in control and you're playing for the kids and giving them a real show instead of just a taste or whatever. But I mean, both of the different things are great for what they are. It's great supporting because there's a lot less responsibility. You go out and do your best, and that's it. You're a lot more responsible. You have to be maybe a little bit more serious when you're headlining because all the weight's on you. Also, there are two different situations that are, you know, cool for, you know, what the aspects are for both of them. But it is, I mean, I don't mind supporting at all, in the same sense that I don't mind headlining. I like both of them for different reasons, you know, but it's alright supporting, it really is. I mean, some bands I can never understand, because some bands always say, oh, we don't want to support anymore, we want to headline and all this shit. I mean, sometimes it's more fun playing to 20,000 people for an hour than play to 200 people for 2 hours, you know?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I mean, so there are different reasons why each thing